there was something laying in the middle of the road. And as he approaches the thing in his vehicle and stops the car, it gets up. He described it as crouching, but on two legs, and it just kind of jumped up and hopped off.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Exploring the Unknown. I'm Dustin.
I'm Luke.
And we are the hosts with the most ghosts. Today we have an amazing episode. We have on Ashley Hilt. She is a cryptozoologist, Fortean investigator, ufologist, and podcast host. But first, before we get into that, we got some news.
What is it?
We got a website. You can go. It is now official. Yes, absolutely. You can go to exploringtheunknownpod.com and stay up to date on all of our new episodes we post. You can also find our merch. We now have merch. We have right now 2 new Bigfoot Eclipse shirts that I'm really loving. What do you think about them shirts, man?
I think their shirts are awesome.
Yeah, me too. Well, guess what? Right now, if you use discount code unknown, you can get 10% off your first purchase. So
Go do it. Go buy some merch.
Go buy some merch. Go get your Bigfoot Eclipse shirt today. You can also support the podcast by going to PayPal or Cash App through the link on the website to make a donation. And I was thinking, I know we talked about this, Luke. How do you feel about doing this now? Maybe I think whenever you do a donation through PayPal or Cash App, you can write what it's for. What if you donate and you write in that little text box a would you rather question for Luke and I to explore here on the podcast?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. That'd be cool. I would like that a lot. We also have some affiliate links. If you go through our links to Ghost Stop and Amazon wish list, anything that you purchase through those 2 links will also help support the podcast and keep us putting out new episodes for you guys to check out.
Yeah, you hop into this episode?
Not quite.
Okay.
We almost forgot to let you know about our event coming up at the end of the year. We are going to the Bigfoot Convention, PA Bigfoot Camping Adventure, September 6th and 7th. For $50, you can come down and hang out with us for the whole weekend. We're going to be recording podcasts, talking to people about their experiences. Hopefully we get some people that has had some pretty good Bigfoot encounters.
And UFO encounters. We haven't had our UFO encounters on here. I'd like to talk to people about UFO encounters.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. If you've had an encounter and would like to be on the show, reach out to us at exploringtheunknownpod.com. There is a contact page where you can send in what had happened for a chance to come on the show and talk to Luke and I about it, because we would love to hear about it.
Good work.
Now, are you ready to jump into this episode?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm like I said, I was supposed to do a different show today, and I thought that, once they canceled, I was like, oh great, I can use that time to do something else productive, and I didn't do that. So but that's okay, it's the weekend, right?
Right, it happens. Sometimes you just got to take some time to do other things.
Right. So it is what it is. So instead I get to double up on show. I've got another show tomorrow. I've got my own show on Monday, and then that's when we rescheduled. So Monday's my double up day, which is fine. It's not work if you love what you do.
Yeah. What's your show that you do on Monday?
On Wednesdays. On Wednesday we talk weird. On Wednesdays we talk
Oh,
weird.
okay.
It's my
I
podcast. It
did.
comes out on Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah, I did. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. I did see on your Facebook that you did do a podcast on Wednesdays. We talk weird, but I was thinking maybe she does it on Wednesdays.
I don't. Yeah, it's the secret is that it's recorded Monday.
uh,
I listened to
yeah.
the Jeepers Creepers episode.
What's that?
I listened to the episode you did about Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, so that one's actually a spin-off series. It's called Beasts and Beyond. That's released under the On Wednesdays. I have 4 shows in total.
Oh wow,
with
busy.
Yeah, with On Wednesdays We Talk Weird being the main show, and they're all new. So this is kind of the other 3 shows are kind of a new thing. So every week everybody gets the Wednesday show, and then they get the bonus whatever other show we're doing at the time. Beasts and Beyond is just kind of a breakdown of different creatures, and we did decide to kind of change it up a little bit and say, well, what are we saying a creature is, right?
Mhm.
One girl came along and she's like, well, I'd like to come on and do like horror movie, creatures and lore. And I'm like, I love that. I'm a huge horror fan. Any, way that I can integrate that into my job would be fantastic. So yeah, so we did one on the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun to do.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a good episode.
Thank you. It was pretty unhinged, but that's the fun part about it.
So how did you get into doing podcasting and stuff like that?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. So back in it's okay. Back in 2019, I experienced a string of synchronicities, for lack of a better way to put it, surrounding the Mothman. And I was invited to work on a documentary about the phenomena. And, at the time, I had just gotten my first smartphone in 2019. I had no social media footprint whatsoever. So I was like, well, if I'm going to make a documentary, people need to know who I am. So somebody had suggested that I do podcasting because it was easy and you can just do it. You can just sit down and do it. I was already talking about this stuff all the time anyway. I might as well put it out there for everybody to listen to. And I've been doing it. Actually, it's almost the anniversary, March 25th, 2020. So
Oh wow, that's amazing.
long time. A while now. A couple years.
You mentioned the documentary. Is that out? I think the post that I was reading said it was in production.
It is still in production. I had also never made film or anything before in my entire life. This
Mhm.
was just kind of something that I don't really choose to do any of this. This was just kind of inserted into my life, and that seemed to be the most logical way to get the information out there to people for what it was I was finding. What I didn't expect was that 4 years later I would still be working on it. I had intentions on getting this documentary done and releasing it, and the goal was to screen it at the Mothman Festival that year in 2020. But it's I'm documenting an ongoing investigation, and when you're doing it that way, it's really difficult to kind of build a plot to it,
Mhm.
especially when there's so many unanswered questions. And while I'm not going to have the answers to everything at the end of it, I would like for it to make sense. It's my baby. I want to be satisfied with it. But it is still coming. But it's also all out of my pocket. I mean, I've probably spent 12 grand making it at this point,
Oh wow.
all out of pocket. None of it's been crowdfunded. And then there's still like I still need to make it to Chicago and film the witnesses and the events there. I mean, and that's another, $1,000 trip. I mean, it's one of those things. So it's coming. I have no idea when.
Yeah. Do you know where you might host it? Like where is it going to be located? People might be able to check it out.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, is my microphone cutting in and out? I had this issue earlier today.
I think it's me. My volume is a little. Let me turn up my computer volume. All right, that might be better. Let's try that out. All right, go ahead.
Um, do you know whenever it's out of production where you're going to post it?
I will likely be distributing it on my own. I
Mhm.
don't really know what that's going to look like yet. I figure I'd cross that bridge when I get there.
Mhm.
I'm probably going to try to pitch it somewhere, probably some type of streaming service somewhere. Or I might just do old fashioned and print it out on some, DVDs and Blu-rays and sell it at my table. We'll see. I don't know yet.
There you go. Yeah. We'll definitely be on the lookout for it. I'm excited to see it if
Yeah, I
given the
think
opportunity.
I think people like media still. You know what I mean? People like a hard copy of things.
Hmm.
And I think I'm like a sucker for media, especially when I can get it signed. I'm like a brat now, and that's like all my media. It's signed by somebody somewhere that worked on it. So, I put stuff out there that I would want. But
Hmm.
streaming is easier, right? I know there's a lot of people that have waited a couple of years for this thing to come out. Once it comes out, if they could watch it, within the first hour, I understand too. But we'll see. Like I said, I've never done this before, so it's a learning experience. I don't even know how to pitch a documentary, but I will. I will do
Yeah.
it.
Well, I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually kind of was talking about that the other day. We're kind of new into the podcasting world. We've been doing it for what, like 6 months now or something like that.
Yeah, November we
Yeah.
started.
Yeah. But since we've been doing it, I've gotten the itch. I want to get into some other things and see what
Yeah.
else is out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And I mean, most of it, especially in this community, I mean, some people are like, oh, I want to write a book. And then they're like, well, I got to find a publisher. No, you don't. You can put it out there yourself.
Hmm.
You don't need a publisher. It's just a matter of figuring out how to go about doing it yourself. The only thing a publisher does is takes, a cut of what you're selling.
Hmm.
Um, you can do it all otherwise. I mean, that's the same thing with podcasting. A popular thing to get into is like a podcast network. Don't do it. Go on your own and just, continue to promote it as much as you can. That's my advice anyway, doing it, so long. Because again, the only thing they're doing is taking a cut of something that you are putting all of your time and effort into. And you think it's great because they're like, oh, they'll market it for me. I
Hmm.
mean, you can schedule social media posts, as a way to market it yourself and get it out there. Don't fall into that trap.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been a ride up to this point. It's evolved into something pretty interesting, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, I like doing it. I enjoy a podcast. It's easy, They
Hmm.
they were right about that. It can be draining. I mean, like I said, I do the Wednesday show, and I do that every single week. These new shows that I'm doing, I record and backlog an entire season before I release it, which is so much easier than trying to do it every single week. Because let me tell you, sometimes it's recording day and you just don't feel like it. I mean, it doesn't matter how much you love the topic, it can get really old really quickly. Um, but that doesn't mean that that's how you feel all the time. It's just I'm having a bad day. I don't want to put out this episode. If I could change anything, I would change the name of the show. So it didn't have
I
to
don't
come
know.
out
I
every
dig it.
Wednesday.
On Wednesdays we talk weird.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I like that name. I think that's really interesting.
It's the only thing that comes up when you Google it.
I love it. We went. I know whenever we were going through the naming process of the podcast, we kind of used Chat GPT to help us out a little bit.
Oh yeah. You
Yeah,
guys
AI
had that
is.
benefit. Well, I didn't have that. I'm so old now. We didn't have that option.
I'm still leery about it sometimes because it I don't know. It does sometimes it just doesn't hold up to what people say. You know.
Well, I don't really use it, to be honest with you. I'm not really sure how it works.
Hmm.
Like I said, I got my first smartphone in 2019. I'm way behind in tech. Um, it could work really well to my advantage if I were to utilize it more, I'm sure. But I don't know if it's trustworthy. I don't know if it's a good idea. There's a lot of weird rules surrounding
Yeah.
different parts of AI. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna not, which does probably make my life harder, but
Yeah. I don't blame you though. I don't. um. Oh goodness, my brain went blank for a second. Um,
that's all right.
Can you tell a
Like I
little bit about Mothman without going too deep into your movie or your documentary?
Yeah, absolutely. So Even though I'm a podcaster, I'm a filmmaker, an author now, a lecturer. I've got all these fun things under my belt. My main title that I prefer is Fortean investigator. And I already know everybody's like, what does that mean? Fortean is just a blanket term for cryptozoology, ufology, the paranormal, the occult, basically anything and everything weird and unexplained. Um, I never thought that I would have been in the position that I'm in doing this as a job. It's not like I was, 7 and I was like, I want to investigate the strange one day. Some people do, right? Some people in the community, they grow up on, I don't know, whatever shows there were searching for truth or, whatever it was. I did not. I was a science-based kid, skeptical of these types of topics. But I did get into cryptozoology. And so this is all important, I promise. I got into cryptozoology, but scientifically, I mean, cryptids are just undiscovered species, right? That's all they are. They're just animals that we haven't cataloged yet. And was always into that topic and always shied away from the woo, I guess is the best term for it. So like I said, I go to I went to the Mothman Festival in 2019 and I had experienced things that just weren't really explainable. And it's not like it was anything huge. It's not like I went to the Mothman Festival and the Mothman came and shook my hand and introduced himself or anything like that. Just like I said, it was a string of synchronicities. And, as much as I can, some people ask, well, what happened? I mean, one time we walked outside of a diner that we were eating at, and the person that I was with stopped me and told me to look down at my feet, and there was a dead moth sitting there. Our Airbnb had like wood paneled walls, and there was like an owl clearly etched into the wood paneled walls, which some people say Mothman looks like sometimes. It was a lot of that, but it was constant. It kept happening over and over again, and it didn't stop once I left Point Pleasant. And truth be told, it started happening before I even got there. I just didn't really connect it at the time. Um, and this went on for months, months and months and months. And as this continues, I was not a Mothman believer myself. I just thought that these people in the small town were seeing some type. I agreed with everybody else. It was a sandhill crane. It was some type of owl. It was an animal that was in the area for a short time and then it left. So as I'm digging into the Mothman lore, I'm kind of finding that the story that everybody's told all the time is just not it. It's not. If you're basing your knowledge on Mothman off of the Silver Bridge collapse and this harbinger of doom and the Mothman prophecies, the movie, you're just wrong. It's just dead wrong. And so what I find fascinating about it is that this creature honestly has been around forever. I mean, the deeper I go into history to try to find other creatures that look like this thing or that behave like this thing, it doesn't stop. I don't really have one source of this is the first time Mothman was ever seen. But different cultures, different areas of the world, different time periods always call it something else. And we have had a hard time chalking that all up together into one category because it's called something else. So people don't really consider it. So basically what I have done or what I'm trying to do is show people how this, like I said, everything that you know about the Mothman is a lie. Um, which starts to sound very cultish. It almost sounds like I'm trying to lead a cult. I'm not, I don't think, not trying to anyway. But Mothman experiences are very, very, very personal. And so, short version for anybody that doesn't know, allegedly there was a flap of sightings of a winged humanoid creature between 1966 and 1967 along the Ohio Valley or Ohio River Valley. This would be the border of Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, kind of along that track of the river. And people often associate it with there was the Silver Bridge collapse in 67, which was a huge tragedy. The bridge connecting West Virginia to Ohio fell. A bunch of people died. It was terrible. And then some people seem to think that people didn't see the Mothman ever again, and that's just not true. Some of the original witnesses saw it again later in life, or different periods of their life. Again, this is a very personal encounter that you have. You don't see the Mothman because you happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. You see it because it wants you to see it. And getting that across to people without sounding absolutely fucking bonkers. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can cuss, but absolutely fucking bonkers is is hard. It is. It's
Mhm.
difficult to do.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Mothman?
I have. So I saw it in 2016, predating all of this. I didn't know that I had seen it until 2021, when somebody had relayed a very similar encounter to what I had, kind of unlocked a memory. So again, 2016, I'm doing my thing. I am not thinking about Mothman or winged humanoids or the paranormal or anything weird.
Mhm.
I didn't care about these topics. I was at a friend's house and we were doing adult things. We were making weed brownies. I like to disclose that because I think it's important to be honest. And as we're kind of slowing down for the night and getting ready to go to bed, I am laying on her couch, and it's about 2:30 in the morning, and I kind of just start freaking out. I'm just not feeling well. I'm feeling nervous and anxious and scared. And if anybody's ever smoked pot before, you get that way sometimes. The paranoia slips in and you can start freaking out. So one thing you'll kind of do when you're messed up on anything, one thing I do anyway is you kind of pick a spot in the room to like focus on and like ground yourself. And I chose the corner. She had this TV cabinet in the corner of the room, and I chose like the spot between like the top of the cabinet and the ceiling. And as I'm kind of staring at that spot, all of a sudden something starts forming in the corner of that room. And it kind of takes a second for me to, I mean, and when I tell this, I'm going to tell it in slow motion, but I'll tell you this all probably happened in the matter of about 10 seconds tops. So a head kind of starts forming first. The head kind of gives way to the shoulders. At this point, I can see a little bit more of what's going on. It's kind of like a black, misty. It's weird. I like to describe it like overhead projectors in school. When the teacher would break out the overhead projector, she had like those like transparent like papers that she would put on it, and then she could put another one on top of the first one. It was like that. It was so strange. It was like a layer in reality. So the head starts forming into the shoulders. The shoulders start kind of forming into initially what I thought were like arms, and they're kind of outstretching like over top of the ceiling, over top of me. And then the arms start kind of going downwards and it starts forming not arms, but wings at that point, I realize. And I got up and left the room. I mean, that was it. I got up, I left, I woke my friend up. I told her, hey, I'm freaking out. You got to, come hang out with me. She just laughed. She's like, oh man, you're so high. I didn't tell her what I saw because in my mind in that moment, I was just high. That's all it was. But I've smoked pot plenty of times and I've never had an experience like that. I've done edibles before plenty of times. Marijuana does not cause you to hallucinate in that way. And nothing like it has ever happened again. And I've had people ask me, how do you know it's Mothman? How do you know it's not a shadow person? I guess I can't hand you proof and say this is my essay on how I know that that's what it was. I just know. Once it like hit me, once I realized that that's what I had seen, I mean, it just came over me. I have no idea how to describe it to somebody who hasn't experienced it before, but I was just like, holy shit, that's what I saw. Now I know, and this makes sense. And then my life going after that follows the very same track that all these other Mothman witnesses follow. Like I said, it's a very personal experience, and we all kind of go through this whole weird journey together. And it's not like I saw something weird and it changed my life and understanding and how things worked. It's just that my life did change that day going forward, which led me on a path to exactly where I am today. And some people say divinely guided, I guess. I don't even know if I want to go that far and say that's what it is, but um, there's just something to it. I don't know. There's something to the phenomena that sets your life on a path that you have really no control over. Like I said, I didn't choose this, it chose me.
Yeah. Had you ever thought like why or Mothman would have had chosen to show you himself? Like, I
Oh,
guess
yeah.
I don't know how to form the question. I feel like that was a weird
No,
way to say it.
no, I know what you mean. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Yeah, of course I've thought about that. I don't know the answer. We all do. Now I've spoken to so many other witnesses. We all wonder why. Is it something within us that makes us capable of seeing them? Is it that we were chosen? What, like I said, it really very much sounds like I'm trying to start a cult. I swear to God, I'm not. Um, and I know that's what a cult leader would say, but you know, but no, really, I don't know. I don't know what it is, and that's kind of part of what I'm trying to find out for myself. And people like me, um, we don't know why, but we know that it's significant. Not to say that we're more important than other people. We're not. It's not like, oh, I'm super special. I saw the Mothman, you didn't. It just is what it is.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure.
You look like you got a question, Luke.
Yeah. Now, the way it came to you, how you saw it, do you think it's like an interdimensional creature, or do you think, well, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it definitely is. A lot of people refer to it as cryptid. It's not. I'm a stickler for that kind of thing. Cryptids are defined as, again, they're animals. They're terrestrial. You can find a breeding population of this animal out in the wild. You are not going to find a Mothman nest. There is not anywhere that the Mothman can't be. John Keel uses this term, ultra terrestrial, and I kind of like it. In the case of an ultra terrestrial, they live here, but they kind of live not necessarily in a different dimension, but they live in a way to where we can't really perceive them all the time because of what they are. Which sounds super weird, but I promise there is some, method to the madness there. Interdimensional probably is the simpler way to put it. I think people can grasp that a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, it's not a wild bird, that's for sure.
That's a big bird.
Big old bird.
What do you love most about researching Mothman and the cryptid, being a cryptozoologist?
It's exciting when something happens. I don't know. You feel kind of just like a validation kind of washes over you whenever
Hmm.
something kind of clicks and it makes sense. You know, Again, I didn't choose to do this. I can't stress that enough. I just really didn't have a choice anymore. And that sounds like I'm being held at gunpoint, but really, um, with this type of phenomena in particular, it's just, I mean, like I said, it's very personal. When it comes to cryptozoology, I think I like animals. I mean, that's just a thing that I've always been into. I think it's exciting to continue to discover new things about the world, and I think that there's a lot to some of these really old stories of all these creatures walking the earth. It's not just Bigfoot. I
Hmm.
mean, of course, that's probably the most well-known part of it, but there's so many cryptids out there, and they're just animals. They're just regular animals that people claim they've seen and interacted with or whatever. There's nothing magical or fantastical about them unless you subscribe those ideas to it, because discovery itself is magical. I'm a science person. I like that. But when it comes to that kind of research, like I said, the Mothman stuff, that is more of a personal journey.
Hmm.
And it is validating. I mean, of course I have questions about it. It gets to the point, it got to the point to where the mystery just became more mysterious the deeper I dug into it. And I wanted some type of answer. I wanted an explanation. I wanted a conclusion. And I have not found one really. I have a pretty good idea of kind of what I think is going on, but I could be dead wrong. I could, any of us could be about these topics.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. It's exciting meeting other people who have had
Hmm.
these experiences. It's exciting when you go back in history and you find, like, in Algonquin lore, they had the flying head, which is essentially the same fucking thing. And you're like, oh my God, it really has been around forever.
Hmm.
You step into a Christian setting and you find all these people that tell you their experiences with angels, and you're like, oh, guess what? It's winged humanoid. Wow. Um, you know, Gargoyles, same thing. I mean, it's the same
Yeah.
phenomenon. Just call it something else over and over again.
Hmm. Talking with these witnesses, have you ever talked to somebody that had an encounter outside of West Virginia?
Oh, absolutely. They're all over. The one that jogged my memory, she saw it, and her and her boyfriend had seen it in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh wow.
So I mean, yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, we had somebody on recently that had seen it over in Missouri.
That's interesting. So Missouri had an instance, pretty big instance where a lot of people overlook. They have the tale of the butterfly people, where they had that big
Oh,
tornado come through in Joplin, Missouri, and a bunch of kids separately that were in the tornado had survived this massive tornado had relayed to staff, to family members, to anybody that they could tell that there were these. They described them as butterfly people who were carrying off people that didn't make it, dead people, and not just the dead people. They were actually also picking up the kids and saving them, putting them in safer spots. Um, and these are again a mass amount of kids that don't know each other. Didn't make up the story beforehand. They just got hit with a tornado. Telling people this story, and the way that it's described, they describe them as like colorful. And one thing that happens in these kind of these not Mothman, but just winged humanoid cases is that some of them will appear to have like a glimmer to them. And so in a child's mind, I can definitely see them being described as colorful. But you have different colors of Mothman. It's not like, it's only black or gray. I mean, there's whites also. And then of course the weird glimmer as well.
hmm
So anyway, it's not like he hasn't shown up in Missouri before. That probably is the same phenomena, I would think.
that's wild.
Yeah.
I never heard of that. The butterfly people. I'll have to
Yeah,
look
look it
into
up.
that
It's
one.
neat. It's a neat one.
um, Now on your Facebook, it says that you're also into UFO. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Ufology.
Ufology. Okay.
Ufology, yeah.
Have you ever seen a UFO? Is that the study of UFOs? Is
It
that
is. Yeah, it
okay?
is. So I have I've taken videos of them. I just had a UFO sighting like 3 weeks ago with my kid.
Oh.
It was pretty weird. It looked like the only way I've been able to describe it to people is it looked like the Wonka Vader, from the original Charlie and the
Oh,
Chocolate
okay.
Factory. Yeah, it was like it was oddly shaped. I went to go follow it, and it was morning. It was like 9:30 in the morning on Sunday, and it's going overhead of my car, and it's going like to the left of me. So I see this parking lot where I can make a left turn, and I
hmm
go to make the left turn. I take my eyes off of it for a second to go make sure I could safely make my left turn. As I'm turning, it's gone. It's completely gone. And there's no tree coverage there. It was a perfect no cloud in the sky type of day. I mean, there's nothing there that it could have like hid behind. It was not a drone. I've since then looked at probably hundreds of pictures of drones to try to find something that looks like it. My best guess, if I have to come up with a reasonable explanation, it could have maybe been some type of balloon, like a mylar balloon.
hmm
And maybe it disappeared because it popped. But I haven't been able to find anything that matched. And unfortunately, I wasn't able, the whole reason I was pulling over the parking lot so I could film it. I wasn't able to do that. But I had my 12-year-old was with me. So I mean,
Yeah.
what can you do? But it happens a lot. And I tell I've got a lot of people that say I've never seen a UFO, not once in my life. And I find that hard to believe. Like, the only reason why people don't see UFOs is because they're not looking for them. Because
hmm
all you got to do is look up. I mean, I can't say it enough. Spend
Hmm.
like 30 minutes outside looking up every night. You're gonna see one. I mean, it's bound to happen.
I might have to start doing that.
Do
We
it.
ha- we had that weird experience at work the other night where like there's a was it, I can't remember if it was blinking or not, but it was bright white. It was going slowly across the sky. Then it just vanished. It was gone.
Yeah, see, it happens so often. I mean, it's crazy. I like to go on. There's a certain website I like to go on to. It's Newfork, Nuforc. Newfork is the National UFO something collection. I don't know. But anyway, they take sighting reports, and they do it by state. So a lot of times I will go on and find ones from Ohio and share them, just because that's it's where I'm from. That's where I investigate. But there's new ones every day. It's constant for people.
Yeah. What what is the craziest thing that you've ever seen? Maybe being out there in the field investigating and stuff like that.
Um, probably it just depends. I think it depends on who I'm with. Mothman is probably the craziest thing I've ever seen. The craziest thing I've ever seen with another person, was I don't know, a ghost deer. I don't know if it's a ghost deer or what it was. So I have a historian basically. I have a historical researcher, and I'm not great at the historical research. My ADHD is not interested in stuff that predates a certain time. So I have somebody that does it all for me, and I'll give her a topic, she'll run with it. Whatever. There was like a sunken city one time. I was like, hey, go figure out everything about the city. She does, and then
Oh,
tells
that's
it to
cool.
me in ways that I like. Yeah. So anyway, she's a huge skeptic. And, honestly, she's been kind of my partner in crime and all this. I can drag her with me to all these places. It's nice having a skeptic with you because when things happen and it fools the skeptic, then it's like, well, there's something to this. Most
Mhm.
of the time she's still like, no, there's nothing. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. And even if even talk to her now, she's like, no, I don't believe in any of this, despite the fact she's had all these experiences. Anyway, so we're at the TNT area in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. The TNT area is known for its giant concrete igloos down there. And it's a big old piece of land. I think there's like 80 igloos almost. It's like 70 something.
Mm.
But it's just a big nature reserve now, and all these igloos are like abandoned. So we've gone there frequently. We mapped out that whole area in our research. But the very first time we were ever down there, which is the first time I ever had her at any of these places, um, there's like this terrible swampy water that's down there. It's filled with algae. The water there does not move. It's really kind of eerie and gross. But there's bullfrogs in the water, and you can see them. They're kind of sticking their little heads out, and every once in a while they'll jump. They'll jump up out of the water and back into it, and you'll kind of catch it. But there's no like ripples or anything when they do, just because it's so stiff with the algae. And but we're enjoying it. We're having a good time just watching bullfrogs. And she goes to pull out her phone because we had looked over across the water and we saw a deer just standing right there, and it's probably, I mean, it's probably no more than I don't know, 15 feet away from us. It's pretty close. And she goes to pull out her phone. She looks down in her pocket to pull out her phone. I look at her looking at her pocket, and she pulls the phone out, and the deer's completely gone. And deer are like that, right? They're sneaky. They're good at what they do. That's why we have to,
Mhm.
encourage people to hunt them. So many. But when we kind of looked at the area a little bit more, we're like, wait a minute, where's that deer standing? Because the spot that it was at is just straight water. And I mean, there's no land around it at all. It is in the middle of basically this pond. And, we didn't hear it coming, didn't see it coming. I mean, it could not have I mean, it literally vanished from where it was. And we have confirmed that, initially we're just like, wow, that's crazy. But I mean, not really being able to stop thinking about it. I mean, we've confirmed it. Like I said, we've mapped that whole area. That area is just in the deepest body of water. There's no island it was standing on, didn't swim to get there. It appeared and then disappeared completely on its own accord. It was fucking weird.
That's wild.
It was really strange.
I was kind of hoping he was going to say walked up on 2 feet and started walking around. Because
I would have lost my mind.
That would have been cooler. But no, it was still pretty neat. I mean, it was very much, real looking. It looked like a deer, and then it just wasn't there anymore. But it definitely gives her, um, I know it makes her question something. As a skeptic, it was a gotcha moment for me and her. I was like, see, shit's weird. And she's like, yeah, whatever.
Now, this might sound crazy, but like, what's the chances of it being like a Wendigo?
Well, Wendigo don't look like deer. That's a huge misconception. Wendigo are like they're like more like akin to pale crawlers. They don't have like the stag head and stuff. Unfortunately, that's just a white person myth.
um, well, then what's the difference between a Wendigo and a skinwalker?
That's a great question. Actually, people bring that up a lot. So skinwalkers are, um, Well, Wendigo are, first of all, are only really in cold weather areas, and kind of the whole reason for it is that this is a spirit. It's more of a cautionary tale that was used to deter people from eating each other in the wintertime. Um, because the thing is that you have the warm months to prepare yourself to make sure that you have enough food and resources in the winter season, and you kind of know, like, you'll hit the beginning of winter, and I mean, you'll know that you're fucked already. You'll have a storm come in and screw up all your crops. You already know you're not going to have enough food. So it's kind of more of a tale to make sure that people didn't eat each other. And it worked pretty well. Skinwalkers are strictly Navajo. You will not find skinwalker at all outside of the Navajo. They actually have to be in that general area, which is like Arizona. It's like the desert.
Hmm.
Because it's like tied to the land by some mountains or something. I don't know the exact terms. But skinwalkers are like bad medicine men. They're like bad witches. And
Hmm.
they are like given this power to shapeshift into creatures using the creature's pelt, or to possess animals and have them kind of do their bidding. Um, I don't know why people have gotten them confused with a lot of things. I've seen people be like, "Oh, I saw a weird animal. It must have been a skinwalker." They don't look weird. They would be really bad skinwalkers if they look strange. The idea of them, shapeshifting into another animal is so that way they're hiding, right, from the general
Hmm.
population. They're not going to look like a weird wolf or a weird bird. They're going to look like a normal bird, which may have different behavior, but they're not going to look any stranger than a regular animal. And again, they can't go outside of like this particular, I don't know if it's like a triangle or a square, I can't remember, but this particular formation of mountains out of the desert. So you're not going to find it in, like, there are two extremes. You're not going to find a Wendigo in the desert, and you're not going to find a skinwalker in the tundra.
Okay. Yeah, we've always talked about that. There for a while, I thought they were the same thing.
A lot of people do, and I think that that's a popular misconception, mostly online, within social media, which then if you don't really sit down and do the work and, deep dive it, and it's hard to do the work on, Native American lore. A lot of things people just take it like face value. Like some people, a lot of people, I know people listening to this are like, "Oh my God, you can't say skinwalker." Yes, you can. Skinwalker is the white person version of the actual creature. Like, it's not even the name of what the Native Americans don't call it skinwalker. Um, there's no harm in saying it. It's more of like the Navajo have this belief that, like, if you talk about bad things happen, right? Like, don't say I'm going to die, because then it means you're actually going to die.
Right.
It's more of manifesting negativity. So it's not so much in a name. You can say Wendigo and Skinwalker all you want. It's not going to make them appear. It's just, even if you're thinking about them, I suppose could make them appear. But I'll be honest, I've been doing it for 4 years now and haven't met either one yet. So
Hmm.
maybe one day.
What is the actual name, if you don't mind me asking, if you know?
Yeah, it's like Yi Natalushi or something like that for the Skinwalker.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, is it the Skinwalker, or is it the Wendigo that the whistle, like when they say not to whistle at nighttime? Which one is that? I don't.
That's a lot of things, to be honest with you. Um, the Kushtaka is another creature that hangs out in the woods. It's just basically anything that's mimicking another person, someone you may know. The weird whistling. Whistling mostly is like an Appalachian thing.
Hmm.
So it's just kind of, I don't know, don't put yourself in a bad in a bad position by going out in the middle of the woods at night, because there's tons of things out there that want to kill you, not just Wendigo
Hmm.
and Kushtaka and Skinwalker, cougars and bears and snakes and people.
Right.
It's the same as, like, I
Uh,
don't know if you ever heard the urban legend of, like, it's like a woman home alone and she hears a crying baby outside of her door, and she's told not to open it because if she does, she's gonna get kidnapped. It's like it's that
yeah.
same kind of tale.
Mhm. Mhm. Did you have a question, Luke?
Yeah, I'm gonna butcher the name of it, but what is that Kushika or what? However you said it.
Yeah, the Kushtaka is like a half man, half oh my God, otter. It's what it is. It mostly
Oh.
dwells in the water. it will try to lure you into the water, to drown you, or potentially, turn you into a kushtaka. But it's like, yeah, it's like an otter man.
Otter man.
Otter man, and that's mostly in the Pacific Northwest area,
Hmm. I've
up in
never
the
heard of
old
that. There's
PNW. It
there's
has lots of cool stuff.
yeah. There's a lot of other lores and cryptids and things like that that are out there that I had no idea about until we started talking to people.
There's plenty that I don't know about still. You know what I mean? Like I do this professionally, but I don't know everything. I have honestly, I'm compare, I know you were saying, oh, we're new to the podcasting thing. I mean, I've only been doing this 4 years. I'm still new compared to some of these people out here. And some of it, you're not just gonna, you can't just hop on a Google and find out. It takes a long
Mm,
time of different reading and different resources and going out. I mean, physically going out to investigate things, going out to these places, talking to the people, like submerging yourself into the culture. You're going to find out all kinds of things that you can't just Google.
right.
So, don't beat yourself up over it. That's the fun part, is that you get to continue to learn still.
Hmm. It's a journey.
It is.
Have you ever gotten out there looking for Bigfoot?
Oh yeah, of course. We had a like I think the most I haven't been out for a while looking for Bigfoot, but I mean I'm in Ohio. We're one of the top states for Bigfoot sighting.
Yeah.
Last time I
Have you
went
ever found
out,
any?
there were oh go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I think nope. Sorry. I think you cut out for a second. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I was just saying, the last time I went out was there was a Bigfoot report it was about 40 minutes away from me. And a mother and a daughter were on a popular bike path, and they had seen Bigfoot out there. I mean, that's what they saw, and it was reported to the BFRO. So of course, again, it's 40 minutes away. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. We go down there, and while we didn't find Bigfoot, we did kind of stop, and there's like a Native American museum right there. I mean, it was so close to my house, I'd never been. And I love that kind of stuff. It's called Fort Ancient. And we went in and did the museum thing. And it really talked a lot about the earthworks, like and the mounds and stuff that are all around Ohio. And really not just like just Native Americans, but like before the Native Americans, like what kind of people they were and things like that. Anyway, we do this whole museum thing, and we stop and we talked to the ladies at the museum, and we were telling them like, yeah, we were originally here to look for Bigfoot, and we saw this place, so we decided to check it out. And the one lady goes, well, she saw it, and points to the other lady that's with her. And I'm like, oh, really? You saw Bigfoot? She said, yeah, I was just driving down the road, and there it was on the side of the road, just hanging out. She says that, stories like that happen all the time in that area. It's just kind of normal for them. So I mean, again, I've never personally found any evidence locally, but I haven't put too as much time as I'd like to into it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I would like to do more, field investigation in the woods locally.
Yeah. What do you think he is?
um, well, that's a good question. I you got these two camps that are fighting with each other. You got the flesh and blood people, right? It's an animal. Then you got these, well, I saw Bigfoot hop into a portal and leave. Two different people,
Mhm.
it spoke to me telepathically. I think it's both. And people get mad when I say that, but here's the thing. I believe that there is an undiscovered species of North American ape. We actually just recently found fossils an old an old ape that used to live in North America that we didn't know about before. I don't think that they're as big as people say they are. I think that I know we are really bad at measuring stuff. We've done plenty of studies on how bad people are at measuring things with their eyes. But even like when we look at the Patterson Gimlin film, like we've had people of different statures walk that same path that Patty took, and we know that she was only like 6'7" to 7'2" ish. Like she wasn't that big as compared to like people like, oh, I was 15 feet tall. Um, but I do think that there is something, much like maybe the Mothman phenomena, where people do have these extra weird encounters with Bigfoot because they're not actually seeing Bigfoot. The thing that they're seeing is just presenting as Bigfoot. And that sounds wild. And maybe I'm assuming intent. But I don't think so. I think that it is something mimicking some some type of lore that we already have, and it knows that we already have that lore, and it wants you to know that you're having an odd experience. So it puts on this air of I'm going to present as a weird creature, and does it on purpose. And again, that sounds nuts, but I don't see why not. I mean, it's either that or it's all these people are lying about that experience. And that could
Right.
be true too, but I don't think so.
I don't think it sounds nuts. I mean, if you think about what you just said, it does kind of make sense because people say they see the ball of lights in the middle of the woods and they
Mhm.
can't explain it. So, I mean, I don't think you sound crazy.
I'm open to both possibilities for sure. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? I can't say one way or the other. One thing that I've noticed is that people that have encounters of cryptids that seem to present as animals, they're terrestrial, right? They're normal, kind of. They don't have the same markers as somebody that sees a Bigfoot coming out of a portal. Somebody that sees a Bigfoot coming out of a portal go on to have the same experience as like a Mothman experiencer. They go on to have poltergeist activity in their house. They go on to see UFOs all the time. One marker that these people have is that they constantly, every single one of them, have had some experience with trauma predating these experiences. That's been another thing. Whether it be emotional trauma or some type of physical trauma that they've suffered in their life, this is a pattern that I have never found broken. Whereas like a Bigfoot experiencer who just, smelled a smelly smell and saw a big hairy creature, they don't have that. They don't have these other experiences. They don't have the history of trauma. They just have their one encounter and that's it. The only way that I can explain it is that both things are true at once. Both things are happening. They're just not the same phenomena.
Yeah. Um, I've heard before on other podcasts this theory. Now, how do you feel about Bigfoot being a descendant of the Nephilim?
I hate that theory. I'll be honest. I don't like it. Just, it's dumb. It's cherry picked. It's not good. And it's just because once you really start digging into it, it all falls apart. Much like a lot of, I don't want to get in trouble. Much like a lot of religion and kind of what's put into it. Once you start really digging into the logic of it, it doesn't make sense. And typically, the individual is picking and choosing what to believe in. And in the case of like the Nephilim, these are the Nephilim. The thing about the Nephilim is that they were all destroyed in the Great Flood. Okay. God, the reason why the Great Flood happened was because of the Nephilim. It's because angels mated with humans and they had babies, which were the Nephilim, and God thought this was an abomination, so he was cleansing the world. So he put Noah on his ark with his two of everything animals to restart everything again because he was pissed off that we did that.
Mhm.
So if there are still Nephilim today, that means if you are a Christian, you are saying that God fucked up and that he didn't do his job right. You are questioning God, and the Bible says that you're not allowed to do that. So which is it? Are you going to question him or are you not? Um, all of their research, and you can't see my little quote fingers, but I got it there, is based off of these missing books of the Bible. But again, the Bible itself tells you can't really question outside of the Bible's teaching. So if there's missing books of the Bible and God doesn't, he doesn't recognize them, like then you're questioning God. I mean, those, either God is all knowing and so powerful. I mean, why the hell would he have missing books of his own book? That doesn't make sense,
Mhm.
it just doesn't. And so that's my issue with it. I mean, some people are like, oh, well, there's like one quote that says that like the Nephilim were here before and after, but they're taking it out of context, and that's not what it means. It's being translated wrong. So again, it's just people that aren't really studying the Bible to that degree. And I'm not a Christian. I wouldn't study the Bible unless I thought that maybe there was something to this theory. I've tried to look into it, and to me it doesn't make any sense, and I have to go with reason and logic over spiritual belief, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that theory either.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people love it. It just doesn't, and the Nephilim looked a very specific way. I mean, they had 6 fingers on each hand, 6 toes on each foot. They had red hair. I mean, they were very much human looking. They never really described them as Bigfoot or whatever. And some people will be like, it doesn't matter what cryptid you're talking, it's Nessie. And they're like, oh, the Nephilim. And it's like, God never said that Nephilim had flippers and long necks. Stop it.
Yeah. We were just talking to I'm not sure if you're familiar with the 222 paranormal podcast. But Joe Shortridge, we just had him on recently, and we were talking about the giants and things like that. Well, the skeletons that they had found whenever they
Mhm.
were doing the excavating of the mounds in certain locations.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing. Ohio is really well known for that, apparently. I'll be honest with you, I haven't deep dived it well enough to really know what the hell I'm talking about. But the one species of human, I can't remember, I think it's I don't remember which one. They were bigger than we were. It's not like
Hmm.
we haven't seen humans that were bigger than us before. It just wasn't very it wasn't a good look. It didn't work for us well, so we evolved to be smaller.
Yeah.
Um, Giants don't surprise me. I wouldn't be
Hmm.
shocked to learn that we've had giants in the past, and like I said, they just were really bad at being giant. Survival of the fittest. They
That's it.
evolved out, and we're here, and we were better than them. So here we are. But yeah, it's a topic I'd like to get into one day, but it's a big one. When I
Yeah.
study this stuff, like the Nephilim, I like to give it a good, honest try. I want my mind to be changed if there's something to change.
Hmm.
I tend to have a personal opinion and a professional opinion about most things. Of course, I have a personal opinion of giants up front. I think that would be really neat. I want that to be a thing. My professional opinion is I have no idea.
It's sometimes like that.
I think it's important for people. I think too many people are afraid to admit that, and
Hmm.
I don't know why. It's there's nothing wrong with learning and not knowing. It's fine.
Yeah. I think people become too prideful and they want to be right all the time.
Yeah, I agree. It's just ego, and we all do. It's not just this. It's not just within this community. It's everywhere.
Oh yeah.
It's
Oh yeah.
constant. It's like when you're hanging out with people and they pop a reference, right? You don't get the reference, but you're like, huh, yeah, I know that, and then you don't.
Yep. You got to try to fit in. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
get it. That was my entire high school career.
right. Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And then you go home later, you're like, I gotta learn this.
Yeah, right. Now, not to stray away from the Bigfoot topic, but I've been itching to ask you since we started talking. Being from Pennsylvania and just more recently finding out about this cryptid, what do you think of the squonk?
That's a really good question. So the squonk, hmm, the squonk isn't real. Ooh, I know people hate that. Um, because it's so cute. You want to love it,
Hmm.
and that's fine. You can love it. It is a real part of folklore, but it's not a real animal. The squonk is what's known as a fearsome critter, which is lumberjack lore. And
Oh, okay.
again, in lumberjack lore, a lot of the tales that they had were like cautionary tales to either keep people away from certain areas so that they could secretly log and do their jobs without people getting angry that they're
Hmm.
logging, or to keep the young guys from straying too far away from the job site so they wouldn't get lost. The squonk is just one of those. There's lots of them out there, and it's very folk tale now. Well, now it is becoming more of a cryptid. Prior to the popularity of it, it was more like Paul Bunyan, and his
Hmm.
big blue ox. They weren't real. They were just all American tales, and that's very much what it is. I think it's fun. Um, I was a speaker at the first Squonkapalooza. I didn't go. I was virtual in that event, the only virtual lecture I've ever given. But I love that they're doing it. I love that they've got their own monster and, they're showcasing it because it gets people interested in these topics in general.
Mhm.
And the people that are interested and are ready to take on the research, they're going to find out pretty quickly the squonk's not real, but they're
Yeah.
going to find out other things that could be. And I think that that's valuable. So I love the squonk. I have like 3 squonk plushies and hats and all the fun stuff,
I ain't gonna
I
lie,
love it.
I'm a little heartbroken. I thought the squonk was real.
He's not real, but he's
Check him out.
cute, and we love him anyway.
Yeah. Now correct me if I'm wrong. And you're from Ohio, right?
I am.
The cryptid there is Frogman, correct?
We do have the Frogman. Yep, that's
Where does that come from?
oh man. So, oh, the
I got a lot of
Frogman.
loaded questions.
Yeah, there's lots of story time. That's okay. So the Frogman was first seen and specifically in Loveland, Ohio, in 1955, I believe it was. It was in the 1950s, by a businessman who claimed that he was driving home and he saw 3 creatures standing under a bridge or near a bridge, and they were like wearing cloaks, and one of them was waving around like a wand type thing that was like shooting out sparks, and he decided to leave. He took a page out of my book and he left. Smart man. And
I don't blame
when
him. I'll probably do the same thing.
right, I don't, this is not my business. He took off. Well, that wasn't the most, that's probably the earliest account of it in the area, but it's not the most popular. The most popular case came in 19, I think it was 72, when police officer Ray Shockey was doing his patrols in Loveland, and there was something laying in the middle of the road. So he stopped his car to figure out what's going on. And as he approaches this thing in his vehicle and stops the car, it gets up. And he described it as crouching like a frog, but on 2 legs. And it just kind of jumped up and hopped off and went to go hop over the guardrail before right before it did, it kind of looked back at him and then took off. He says it was about 3 to 5 feet tall. And it was he described it more as reptile. Like the frog description only came into place because of the way it was crouched down. And it took off. Well, 2 weeks later, I think it was 2 weeks later, a couple weeks later, another fellow police officer, one of his colleagues, says that he saw it too. And as a matter of fact, he tried to shoot at it and nothing happened. Says he hit it, but it didn't stop it. It just kept going about its business. A couple years later, that second police officer came forward and said, I think this was actually it was like 2013, something really recent, and said that, yeah, that story wasn't entirely true. Says that, yes, he did see the creature and he did shoot it with success. He killed it, and it ended up being somebody's pet iguana with the tail missing. Um, there's a couple of issues with that story, though. The thing is that iguanas are, well, they're reptiles, and you're talking about March in Ohio. And we've actually been able to go back and see kind of what the weather was like at the time. An iguana wouldn't have been able to survive 2 weeks in Ohio in March in that time.
Yeah.
It would have been dead. And then Ray Shockey's parents had come out later and said that no, that's what he saw. The first story is what he saw. It's just that they were getting made fun of by all the guys of the police force, by everybody in town, and so they came up with this hoax story to kind of take the heat off of them and say, no, that's not what we saw. We retract what we said. So it's kind of up for debate, what this thing is, or where it came from, or if it's still around.
Yeah.
But it's also, I mean, it has its own festival. I've been the MC of the festival 2 years in a row now. And the support for it has been amazing. And being so local to me, a lot of times when I do these talks at places, I got to travel, to a different state and everything. It's been really nice to see, my friends, my neighbors, my community kind of come forward and go, being so willing to just listen. I have this it's like a tip jar on my table at festivals, and it's two little ballot boxes, and it's, whatever festival you're at depends on what it says. But at the Frogman Festival, there's a, do you believe in Frogman? It's either yes or no. People vote with their money and, pick one. Some people say no, they're just there because it's fun and it's quirky, but they're open to it. They want to come and listen to the talks. They want their mind to be changed. But most people, like I said, they're there for it. And I think that's beautiful, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel like I sit somewhere in the middle where I want to believe these things are out there, but I have to have a personal encounter for me to be rooted in that belief.
I'll tell you, that my little voting boxes, they start fights with people. Like,
Oh, really?
they do. We've had like friends come up and they're like, "Well, do you believe in it?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, I don't. That's weird." And then they'll kind of go at each other. But it starts discussions, and I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you, middle of the road is mostly where it's at. They're just waiting for that one thing to change their mind, and they could find it in a book that they pick up there that day. They could find it in one of the lectures they listen to. They could find it on their way home when they experience it themselves. You never know. But I think that's healthy. It's healthy to be in the middle of the road until you have proof, as to what it is. These are big claims people are making.
Right.
Let's hold a standard there and expect some proof. I think that's great.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, hey, I don't want to hold you on any longer. I feel like we've been on here for a minute. I really enjoyed talking to you. This was really cool. Do you have any events or socials or anything like that you would like to plug?
Yeah. I guess both of those things. If you guys want to come hear me talk in person, I will be at the Withville UFO Festival in Withville, Virginia on June 8th. It's a little bit of ways, but definitely make sure that you're there. I'll be speaking about Indrid Cold. I, of course, have my own podcasts as well as multiple others. But you can find everything by searching up on Wednesdays We Talk Weird anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Ashley Hilt. I'm the one with the red hair, or Instagram and Twitter, or X now it's called, at It's Ashers with a Z.
Very cool. Yeah, and we'll be sure to include some of those links down in the description below so that people can find you easier.
Yeah, heck yeah, and I'll definitely be sure to have bring some of my show people over here, make them come listen to me ramble on about the things they've already heard me talk about, but they love to still hear.
uh, well, hey, thanks again so much for coming on and sharing these stories and your experiences with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome back on any time. I feel like we can go a lot longer if we have more time.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I am honestly usually at least the second time guest, sometimes even a third and fourth time guest. So I'm open to it. Just hit me up and we'll schedule it.
Let's do it. But all right. Well, you have a good night. And oh wait, I thought I had something else to say. I guess I don't. I'm tripping over my words again. It's been a long day. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You've only been doing it for 6 months. That's all right. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
It's fine. No, you're
All
fine.
right. Well, you have a good night.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Exploring the Unknown. We really enjoyed talking to Ashley. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, Ashley. It was really cool. We'll post her links down below. That way you guys can go and show her some love. Also, don't forget to go and check out our new website where you can find anything we got going on as far as events, which we do have one coming up at the end of the year, September 6th and 7th, the Bigfoot camping adventure. $50 for the weekend. Come hang out with us.
I'm excited for that.
Me too. I want to go look and areas where there is more sightings. Also, if you go to our website right now and you use the code UNKNOWN, you can get 10% off your first purchase of official Exploring the Unknown merchandise. If you've had any encounters and would like to come on the show, please reach out to us at exploringtheunknownpod.com through the contact page. We would love to hear your story.
Yeah, we need more UFO encounters. If you have a UFO encounter, message us on the page and we'll have you on.
That'd be really cool. We actually got something coming up soon. An episode that is UFO related, extraterrestrial like. That's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah,
You guys
that's
will have
gonna
to
be
keep
an
a
episode. That's gonna be a good episode.
so you guys are going to have to keep a lookout for that. All right, let me get this question because that was the one thing I didn't prep. All right. Would you rather spend a night camping alone in the woods with Bigfoot roaming around, or spend a night exploring a deserted town rumored to be haunted by Mothman?
Ooh, that's a difficult question. I like to see both of them. Um, I think in my mind would be more okay with saying, yeah, Bigfoot's real over like a Mothman. I think I'd rather see a Bigfoot first, but then I'll ease my way into seeing a Mothman.
Yeah, I agree. I think I could wrap my head around Bigfoot better than Mothman.
So I'm going with Bigfoot. I'd rather see a Bigfoot before I see a Mothman.
Same here. Comment down below. What would you do if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube? I think that's about it.
Well, if you want to listen to our podcast, you can listen to it from the website itself. And it has all our socials on there and the merch. So go check it out.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Heck yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening and have a good night.
See ya.